Our film today begins in one of the most beautiful places on Earth, the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. The camera shows us a completely different world, a world filled with dazzling colors and life. Coral reefs of yellow, red, and purple, and small fish playing and darting everywhere. In the midst of all this beauty, we meet the two protagonists of our story, two clownfish, Marlin and Coral. They have just moved into their new home. A beautiful and safe house inside a sea anemone, overlooking a panoramic view of the ocean. Marlin and Coral are at the peak of their happiness, standing and watching their most precious possession, about 400 small eggs, their children who are about to hatch. They were dreaming about their names and their future. Coral wanted to name one of them Nemo, and Marlin would laugh and say, half of them will be named Marlin Jr., and the other half Coral Jr. Their world was filled with love, jokes, and dreams. But in a single moment, all of this turns into a nightmare. Suddenly, a strange silence falls over the place. All the small fish hide, and the atmosphere becomes tense. A huge predatory barracuda appears out of nowhere, its eyes vicious and hungry. Marlin tries to protect Coral and the eggs, telling her to hide inside the anemone. But Coral, with a mother's instinct, turns back to try and save her children. Marlin attempts to confront the barracuda, but the predator strikes him with a powerful blow that knocks him unconscious inside their home. When Marlin wakes up, he finds the place completely empty. The silence is now deafening. He calls out for Coral, but there's no answer. He leaves the anemone and finds no trace of Coral or the eggs. All his dreams have vanished in an instant. As he looks on in despair, he spots one single thing remaining. One lone orphaned egg, which had a small crack in it from the barracuda's attack. Marlin embraces this egg with all his tenderness, tears in his eyes, and whispers to it a promise that will change his life forever. It's okay. Don't worry. Daddy's here. I promise I will never let anything happen to you. Nemo. The film fast-forwards a few years. We see Nemo, a small fish full of life and mischief, with an enthusiasm to explore the world. But he inherited a small trait from the accident. One fin is smaller than the other, which his father calls his lucky fin, to make him feel that it's something special. Marlin, however, has become a completely different father. The trauma has turned him into a person obsessed with safety. His entire life is a cycle of fear and anxiety. He's afraid for Nemo of everything: the ocean, the neighbors, any danger, no matter how small. Today is Nemo's first day of school, which is a day of terror for Marlin. He takes Nemo to school, holding onto his fin and not wanting to let go, giving him 1,000 instructions. Don't swim in the open water, and if you see a boat, what do? You hide immediately. He embarrasses Nemo in front of his new friends. The class teacher, Mr. Ray, a large and cheerful stingray, takes the students on a field trip to the drop-off, the edge of the coral reef beyond which the terrifying open ocean begins. When Marlin finds out, he has a panic attack and flies to catch up with them. He arrives to find Nemo and his friends daring each other to swim out beyond the reef to touch a boat anchored in the distance, which they call the butt. Marlin scolds Nemo and drags him by his fin in front of everyone, telling him, "You think you can do these things, but you just can't, Nemo." Nemo, feeling humiliated and angry at his father's excessive fear, yells back, "I hate you." And to prove he isn't a coward, he defies his father, swims at full speed towards the boat, and touches it with his lucky fin. The class teacher, Mr. Ray, a large and cheerful stingray, takes the students on a field trip to the drop-off, the edge of the coral reef beyond which the terrifying open ocean begins. When Marlin finds out, he has a panic attack and flies to catch up with them. He arrives to find Nemo and his friends daring each other to swim out beyond the reef to touch a boat anchored in the distance, which they call the butt. Marlin scolds Nemo and drags him by his fin in front of everyone, telling him, "You think you can do these things, but you just can't, Nemo." Nemo, feeling humiliated and angry at his father's excessive fear, yells back, "I hate you." And to prove he isn't a coward, he defies his father, swims at full speed. And here the real disaster strikes. A huge shadow appears above Nemo. A diver in a black suit appears out of nowhere and with a small net snatches Nemo in a second. Nemo screams, "Daddy!" And Marlin watches his sawwards the boat and touches it with his lucky fin. As he swims aimlessly, not knowing what to do, he bumps into a blue fish who is talkative and cheerful. She says, "Well, hello, I'm Dory." Marlin tries to ask her if she saw a boat, and she says yes, she saw it and starts to give him directions. But halfway through, she forgets what she was saying. Marlin discovers she suffers from short-term memory loss. At first, he gets frustrated and tries to leave her, but she keeps following him, begging him not to leave her alone. As they are arguing, they find the diver's mask. Dory then surprises Marlin by revealing she can read the writing on it. She painstakingly spells out the words, P. Sherman, 42, Wallaby Way, Sydney. This is their first glimmer of hope. They have an address. They must get to Sydney, Australia. And here, two journeys begin at the same time. Marlin and Dory's journey across the ocean. Their journey is filled with adventures and dangers. They meet three sharks who are trying to be vegetarian and have formed a support group with the motto, Fish are friends, not food. But when Dory gets a nosebleed, the scent of blood triggers the predatory instinct of their leader, Bruce. He starts chasing them madly inside an old submarine full of mines. And they manage to escape at the last second. They then reach a very dark trench and see a beautiful little light. But it turns out to be the lure of a terrifying deep-sea anglerfish. After a thrilling chase, they manage to track it using the diver's mask and escape. Next, they arrive at a massive, beautiful forest of jellyfish. Marlin, with his experience, knows they are poisonous, but Dory starts to play with them. Marlin learns a new lesson and turns it into a game to help Dory cross. They succeed, but at the end, Dory gets badly stung. Nemo's journey in the fish tank. Nemo finds himself thrown into a fish tank in a dentist's office in Sydney Harbor. There, he meets a group of captive fish, whom we call the Tank Gang. Their leader is Gil, a Moorish idol with a damaged fin, just like Nemo, whose greatest dream is to escape and return to the ocean. The gang introduces Nemo to the biggest nightmare of their lives, Darla, the dentist's niece. Darla is a terrifying child with braces. Known for her dark history of killing pet fish, every year for her birthday, she gets a fish as a gift, and she shakes the bag so violently that the fish dies. The horrible news is that Nemo is her new birthday present. Gil devises a daring escape plan. Nemo, because of his small size, must get inside the water filter and jam it with a small pebble. This will make the tank dirty, forcing the dentist to take them out in plastic bags to clean it. In that moment, they can roll out the window and into the ocean. The climax and reunion. Marlin and Dory finally arrive in Sydney Harbor. A pelican named Nigel recognizes them and carries them in his beak, flying them to the dentist's office just as Darla arrives. Through the window, Marlin sees the dirty tank, and he sees the dentist scoop Nemo out in a plastic bag. Suddenly, Nemo flips onto his back and plays dead, a plan from the Tank Gang to make the dentist flush him down the toilet, which leads to the ocean. But Marlin doesn't know the plan. All he sees is his son, lifeless. His heart breaks, and he feels his entire journey was for nothing. He flies from Nigel's beak, tells Dory it's over, Dory, and leaves her, returning to the ocean, completely defeated. Dory, now abandoned by Marlin, is heartbroken, and her memory begins to fade again. Please don't leave me, she cries. When I'm with you, I remember. As she wanders aimlessly, she bumps into a small fish, asking for directions. It's Nemo, who has successfully escaped the office and reached the ocean. At first, she doesn't recognize him, but when she reads the word Sydney on a pipe, her memory comes flooding back like a lightning bolt, and she screams, Nemo! She and Nemo rush to find Marlin, and a deeply moving reunion takes place between the three of them. But the story isn't over yet. Suddenly, a massive fishing net appears and captures Dory, along with hundreds of other fish. Marlin, who in the past would have fled, stands his ground. Nemo bravely tells him, I know what to do. Marlin looks at his son, and all the fear inside him transforms into complete trust. Nemo swims into the net and yells at all the fish the motto he learned from Gil. Swim down! Everyone swim down! Marlin yells with them from the outside. All the fish unite and swim down with all their might. The immense pressure breaks the boat's winch. The net falls, and everyone is freed. Our film ends with a beautiful scene of Marlin taking Nemo to school again. But this time, Marlin is different. He's a happy, relaxed father, telling bad jokes to the other parents and encouraging Nemo to go explore. He sends him off saying, go on, have an adventure. Nemo joins his friends in Mr. Ray and begins a new journey, confident in himself and knowing that his father trusts him. Marlin and Dory return to their anemone, not just as a father and his son's friend, but as a true family after a long journey where they found Nemo and, more importantly, found themselves.